Ladies and gentlemen, in meteorology, these slides are going to walk you through how we use wind for weather forecasting. Okay, you're going to need this, and when we do weather observations going outside, we want you to figure out the wind direction. And these slides are going to help you understand what to do with that wind direction and why we can make these forecasts with something as simple as which direction is the wind coming from. Okay, so keep something in mind. This is a big generalization, big idea. This does not work 100% of the time. You'll hear me say that a lot when it comes to forecasting weather. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of different factors that go into trying to forecast weather. And data is collected and things change, but the simple stuff, the big steps, this is what we're trying to get you to become masters in. All right? So here's how wind plays into it. If we try and figure out which direction the wind is coming from, that tells us a lot about the air that is moving towards us. Okay, now this seems kind of mean and kind of harsh, but we're not really as concerned with where the wind is going. We want to know where it came from. All right, because if we know which direction the wind is coming from, that tells us something about that air that is coming towards us. All right, keep in mind, big generalization here, an oversimplification, but I'm surprised at how often this works. If you look at our country, and you ask, okay, wind from the north versus wind from the south or the east or from the west, when it reaches us here in Kansas, right, and Overland Park, Lenexa area, where did it come from? And what does that tell us about the air that's about to come here? All right. And if you stop and think about the regions of our country in general, this makes a lot of sense for us here in the Great Plains. Wind from the north tends to come to us and bring colder air temperatures than normal. This doesn't work 100% of the time, but if the wind is coming from the north most of the time, you can bet that the air temperature for the next day will probably drop. It'll be a little bit lower than it is the day before. Okay, this doesn't mean that wind from the north means the next day is going to be, 20 degrees. It just means that it tends to be cooler when it comes from the north. The opposite of that is wind from the south tends to be a little bit warmer. If the wind coming in our area is coming from the south for a couple of hours, you can expect that the temperature will most likely the following day be a little bit warmer than it is today. Okay? The general trend, wind that comes from the eastern portion of our country tends to have more moisture in it and normally increases the chance of cloud formation and precipitation. And wind from the west tends to be drier air. It does not normally bring a lot of cloud formation and not much precipitation, right? So how does this work? If we go outside for weather observations, I want you to try and figure out which direction is the wind coming from. It's almost easiest to try to have the wind blow on your back, okay? So that you can tell, okay, the wind is coming from whatever direction, all right? Now use a compass, if you have one. Use streets and street signs, right? Keep in mind here in the Kansas City metro area, streets that have names like Antioch and like Metcalf, right? And like Flum, they tend to run north and south. And streets that have numbers like 85th Street and 95th Street, right? And 87th Street, they tend to run east and west. So when you go outside, try and use these clues. The sun is actually not the best one to use, okay? Because the sun where we live does not rise perfectly in the east and set perfectly in the west. It's almost always in the southern portion of the sky, rising in the southeast and setting in the southwest, okay? Try and figure out which direction the wind is coming from. And if you know which direction the wind is coming from, you know the type of air that's heading your way. And we're going to use this and practice this in our next few weather observations to try and figure out if tomorrow is going to be a little bit warmer or a little bit cooler, increased clouds and precipitation, or clearer skies and dry, all based off of wind direction. All right, we'll try it out and see how well it works.